Here we go. Marat Kilsey. Let's see. It's time to start with knight f3. Let's see if I can I can play the actual knight f3 instead of knight c3. He goes c5. Okay, so it's not the Reti gambit. Could go for an English, or I could wait for a bit. Play the fianchetto here. Okay, so he opened up this diagonal. Yeah, let's go for an English type of setup. Get the knight out, get castled, maybe fianchetto this bishop. We'll see how things develop here. And both sides have avoided placing a pawn in the center, delaying their commitments. So it looks like he's gearing up to play d5. It's a reasonable way to play this. Okay, but he's preparing to castle first. Maybe he wants to get that in before he opens things up. But I'm castled, and I could play d4 right away. That would open up this diagonal for the bishop instead of putting the bishop on the fianchetto here. Be a little quicker. If he takes, I can take back with the knight. Let's go ahead and try it. And see what Marat Kilsey, Marat Kilic. See what he's got to say here. If I push on to d5, pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes. Yeah, I have enough force to actually push this pawn to d5 if I want to. And it might be interesting, especially if he plays his knight to c6. It might be interesting to push forward. Knight c6, pawn forward. There's some exchanges and the knight moves, but maybe it just goes to b4 and then rounds up the pawn. So maybe that doesn't help. Could prepare by playing a3 first. Knight c6, pawn to a3. Then he takes. I take, he takes, I take. Yeah, I guess that's all right. Still have it adequately covered. Okay, so he's thinking about this one. It's an interesting position. He decides to just go ahead and take. The most straightforward way to play it. And gets rid of my good bishop. But he gave up his good bishop too. Is he going to get castled? He is. Okay. So I do have to watch for checks on this diagonal, but it's not happening yet. I still have some slight edge in development here, but he can bring that knight out pretty quickly. I could go with e4, especially now that I don't have this bishop. Might be an interesting way to play. I don't have to worry about blocking this diagonal for my bishop, and does keep open lines for this bishop. Okay, so he did play there. I'm thinking I want to avoid the trade and keep pieces on. This is starting to look like a Maroxy bind kind of position, and in those positions I want to maintain as many pieces as I can and try and cramp black. So if I play knight to b5, I'll probably just play d6, and I'm not yet threatening to take it. Then he kicks it later. Well, I could follow up with bishop to f4 maybe. If he doesn't play d6, I was thinking I should play knight d6. d6, bishop f4, e5. And I could move the bishop here or drop it back. Then he kicks my knight. And it goes here. I guess that's okay. It's I have a pawn on c5, so it stops him from pushing. He'll have the pawn on a6, but b5, b4 with the fork won't happen quickly because I'll be able to take there when the pawn gets to b5. And let's see, so bishop out here. Just went d6. Okay, so do I want to play bishop f4? He kicks it and then go here. Kicks it and then I retreat. It'll leave him with a backwards d-pawn. Let's try it. So now's the moment to have to decide. Bishop e3, and knight could come here. So I will go to g5 then. And he kicks on the knight. It's coming to a3, then to c2, and then maybe it goes to d3. Or maybe it sits on c2 and I have to be careful here. So bishop on this diagonal pushes the pawn. I take at the moment, and I'm not losing anything, but I have to be careful about the sudden opening of this diagonal too. Knight here, bishop takes, knight takes. How does this work? Take the queen. Okay, so he's asking me, what do I want to do? And I don't want to occupy the e3 square, although it does hit this pawn. But it takes away a square from this knight, so I can't decide if bishop e3 is good or not. If I go to d2 or to c1, it blocks other pieces. So I guess this is the best of my available alternatives. And the knight's not coming into g4 because the queen covers that square. So it's not a problem at the moment. Knight c2 to b4 to d5. That might be a nice route here. Can I draw arrows? Something like this. Okay, so he put his queen there. So do I want to start my knight maneuver right away? Yeah. I have to move the knight before I can push the b pawn forward, and I was kind of thinking maybe I should play b3 here after his queen comes to the c file, I probably need to support that pawn, which is the knight on a3 was doing that job, but of course you don't want the knight out of play on a3 the whole game. So time to rearrange things. So okay, I'm going to start with defending the c-pawn. And then think about it. Knight to b4, just not playable at the moment. And even after a3, if I play knight b4, I'll probably just trade it. Knight to a4 would pile up on the pawn on b6. Might be interesting. Maybe just rook to the c file first to prepare some of this. Sudden opening of the sudden opening of the c file might work to my advantage if I have a rook here opposite his queen. Looks like he was a little bit worried about that b pawn too. He's got it adequately defended now. Okay, so he's probably going for f5 here to break up things open since he moved this knight out of the way. Can also be think about putting his knight on c5. I'll protect the pawn with f3. f5 I will take. I want to move my queen out of the way and bring a rook over. So he was going for that one. So it's just defend for a moment. So he wants to trade off the dark squared bishop. And he doesn't mind opening the h file, creating a weakness there. Well, I'm kind of curious to see how he's going to defend that g-pawn. Like that. Yeah, so he's got a structure that's full of holes, but maybe it's not so easy for me to exploit it. Anyway, I can certainly put a knight here. That's looking good. Yeah, so he got his queen out of, it wasn't in any trouble really, but away from things. Here's an idea. I'll pile up on the d file here and bring this knight around to f5 to put more pressure on the d pawn. I could just double on the d pawn too. Yeah, let's start with doubling. But let's think. He pushes, I push. Where's that knight going? Can't go here or here, here or here. It's got to go back. Then I'll have pressure on this guy. So yeah, this is safe to play. If he brings his rook over, he's hanging the b pawn, so probably can't do that. Okay, so I'm going to step aside like this. bring the other knight in. I could bring the knight in this way too. Now that's an interesting move. It stops me from bringing my knight here. Makes me think about an exchange sack. He's not threatening to take anything at the moment, so... Yeah, I think this is one of those situations where you pretty much have to play the exchange sack. It's just too much to resist. Without knowing if it's correct, though, I must admit. Aha. I overlooked that check. He's playing quicker now, and his time is low. But my queen and king defend over here, and his pieces are over here. My pieces are a little bit out of the way, too. So I can take that. Probably didn't notice being low on time. He's starting to get in trouble here. I mean, I have to be careful too. I can take with check. I have to come back and defend this somehow. Okay. Yeah, won by time, but yeah, he was. Well, he had made a mistake, but it was probably a time pressure win more than anything. So, very interesting game. So I will check this out in the postmortem and see you guys later. Bye.